I came to Orlando from New York, and what is it? It's cold and rainy and my foot is completely soaked right now. That just happened while I was recording this bad bitch. I asked you if I should leave Orlando, and you said, get the fuck out. So, what am I doing? I'm listening to you. I'm getting the fuck out. I'm also gonna listen to you. One more question. Where should I go? Poll answer now. So the first thing that we do when we get to Thailand is eat, obviously. Might get a little pad thai, but I'm not really sure if the order understood. Sorry, I'm not sure if the waiter understood our order at all. So we'll see what kind of food we get. Just met these guys on the plane, sat next to me, and we figured we'd grab a meal together while we got some time here. Right on. Boop. The first meal in Asia. Very nice. Hey George. Found another American. Didn't take too long. Spot. Yeah, okay. What's the first thing that I do when I get to Thailand? Eat some pad thai. What's the second thing that I do when I get to Thailand? 2-hour Thai massage. Let's do this. That flight was long. So 5 seconds after I stopped recording that video at the Thai massage bed, this woman comes over to me. She ends up being my massage therapist. She gives me these clothes, like a sort of uniform to wear while she's doing the massage. And so there's this button-down shirt, and I put it on, obviously with the buttons facing forward. That was wrong. Fucking dumb American tourist. Can't listen to directions. Put it on backwards. Okay, fine. So she helps me undress, and I put it on backwards. Then, oh, not backwards, but the proper way, what I thought was backwards. Then I put on these really large pants, way oversized for me. That's totally fine. There's supposed to be no friction with them. All right, so I pull them up, and all of a sudden, immediately, they drop down my ankles. And this woman giggles a little bit, and she can't really speak too much English. So she holds open the pants for me, the pant legs. I stick my foot through. She's like, foot. She's like, foot here. I stick my foot through. She pulls them up for me, and the reason that they didn't stay up was because there's this little sachet belt. And so she ties it for me, and as she's tying it, I'm looking down. And I'm like, oh, this is gonna be dope. 2-hour Thai massage. And she ties it like a shoelace, like we normally would with a shoelace. And she looks up at me. She points, or she kind of taps the knot, and she goes, Thailand. Okay. Am I still? Alright, I'm still in focus. It was like 10 times funnier when it happened. Maybe it's pretty funny now. Alright, so this video was not about tying knots. It's not about a Thai massage, but it is taking place in Thailand. I'm currently in Thailand, Krabi, Thailand right now, and today I'm going to talk to you about experiential and intellectual understandings. Now notice that I said experiential and intellectual understandings. There's a reason that I say and not versus. Now the reason I'm going to talk to you about this is because it's incredibly relevant in my life. I'm going to share why that is, but on my flight yesterday, I had a couple of them, but on one of the flights, I was editing a video about alpha and beta energy. Now that video rendered, and it is literally uploading to YouTube right now in my hotel room as we speak. In that video, I talk about alpha and beta energy, the same way that I'm going to talk about intellectual and experiential understandings. There's a reason that we use the word and in between, and that's because they work together collaboratively. They're not at odds with each other, okay? And I'm going to elaborate upon that in the future. The concept of this video is going to allow you to pioneer and persist, to learn ridiculously fast. Learn not only ridiculously fast, but ridiculously well. The quality of your understandings and the things that you're learning are going to be massively enhanced after you watch this video, after I give you this intellectual understanding, and then you start implementing it in your everyday life. You get the experience and you just start fucking thriving. Okay, there's certain things that allow me to learn faster. Okay, there's certain dynamics and certain awarenesses that are at play that allow me to do this. This is probably the core foundation of all of them. The reason that I'm here in Thailand right now is because I'm on a 1-month meditation retreat, and at the end of that I'll get certified to teach Tantra Yoga. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of things that I'm going to be learning and that's the reason that I'm making this video right now, is because it's so fucking relevant to me and it's on my mind. But it's so relevant, and I'm going to be implementing this. I'm going to bring you along on this journey, this specific journey of this understanding. And yeah, that's about it. It's about time for the intro. This prelude's already long enough. Let's do this. Lock in. I love you. You're going to benefit massively. Boom.
All that I want in this life is the chance to do my thing. All that I want in this life is the chance to do my thing.
I want the top. All my people right there in the back of the spot. I need the top. If you know me, you don't know me to stop. I need the top. All my people there in the back of the spot. Let them get shot. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to learn about, and I'm going to share with you, 2 components of understanding. Okay, let's think of understanding as like this big ball, and if you slice it in half, it has 2 components. You have an intellectual and experiential understanding. They work together in tandem, okay? I'm going to talk about the 2 components. I'm going to talk about how they're playing out right now in my life. I'm going to talk about how it might relate to your life. I'm going to allude to certain things. I'm going to make comparisons and similes, metaphors, so that you can better understand it. And at the end of this video, I want you to have a basic intellectual understanding of the dynamic between experiential and intellectual understandings, okay? I'm going to use the word understanding a lot. Do not get too confused. Hopefully I don't confuse you too much, and let's dive in. Okay, so in any understanding, whenever you're learning anything, basically, you don't want to be memorizing it. You want to be understanding it, okay? We do that a lot in school. I did it a lot in school. I memorized a lot of shit. Did I really understand it? I don't know. Let's start on intellectual understanding. An intellectual understanding is basically me saying something and you intellectually understanding it. So if I share something with you, if I tell you something, that's an intellectual understanding, okay? And that's what I do with these videos, and that's all I can do. The power and the compass of my ability is just to give you certain intellectual understandings of dynamics that are playing out in your life, okay? You're the one that has the opportunity, and you're the only one that can give yourself the experiential understanding. I'm gonna get into that too a little bit. For example, if I tell you, hey, if you lose this camera, it's gonna suck. You'd be like, yeah, if I lose that camera, it's gonna suck. Are you actually feeling the loss of your camera? No. One dynamic that everybody, I think everybody experientially understands and intellectually understands, but everybody experientially understands the fact that you do not know the true present value of something until you lose it. Presence is not appreciated until absence, okay? I don't fully appreciate this camera until I lose it. When I was little, I remember losing a toy. I'd be like, fuck, that toy, yeah, I can actually like understand its presence in my life now that it's not there. I was taking that toy for granted. And then the next toy, I'm enabled to appreciate a little bit more before I lose that toy. Now you're probably thinking about some examples that happen in your life, whether it be a cell phone, a loved one, an actual person, a camera, an experience, a date, an obligation, some sort of thing. If you lose it, you understand its present value. And I think everybody understands that. So, going back to it, intellectual understanding is me just telling you about that dynamic. And it's nice, it's intellectually stimulating, and we could kind of understand it, we could write it down, and that's cool. But on the other hand, we have experiential understandings, okay? So now we have this big understanding, and it's a ball. But for simplicity's sake, and in order to get you to better understand this intellectual understanding of understanding, right, we're going to think about a flower. Now, how does a flower come into fruition? Well, basically, from what I understand, most flowers start as seeds. That seed is an intellectual understanding. And that seed is planted when somebody gives you information. When you absorb some sort of information. Keyword, information, okay? So it could come from some guy talking to you on YouTube, it could come from a book, somebody tells you in real life, somebody shares something with you in real life, you read a magazine, you listen to a podcast, anything. you absorb some sort of information. When you resonate with that, there's a whole nother video on resonation, which I might make subsequently after this video, the same way that I'm making this video after alpha and beta. Resonation, when that information resonates with you, that seed is planted. Okay, so when you absorb some sort of information that you really kind of, for lack of a better term, not to say it again, but resonate with, that intellectual understanding is planted. Okay, you are like this big ass garden, this beautiful mosaic of flowers. Each one is some sort of understanding that you use in your everyday life. Intellectual understanding is that seed, okay? And it flourishes, it blooms, and it blossoms with experiential understanding. So, there's no experiential understanding that could come into play without some sort of intellectual understanding. Generally, I suppose there could be exceptions to this. The intellectual understanding comes first. In my life, it usually comes first. It's something that I usually read, I listen to, or I hear about, okay? So, well, listen and hear about is pretty much the same thing. So, that seed is planted, okay? Now, that seed is planted, but where's it gonna go? That intellectual understanding is just the seed. The experiential understanding is the growth, okay? So, we understand what intellectual is. Now let's go into experiential understanding. Let's say that I tell you, hey, you don't know the true value of your camera that you're talking to right now and this microphone with the cord that you happen to have this time until you lose it. Intellectually, boom, that seed is planted. You don't realize true presence until absence, okay? That's planted. Now, if I go through my life and I understand that, I have that in the back of my mind, when I lose that camera, that is the experiential understanding playing out, okay? So I lose the camera and I'm like, fuck, that camera. They told me that I should have appreciated it more. They told me that I should appreciate that camera before I lost it. They told me that I wouldn't appreciate it enough and fully as I should have been doing until I lose the damn camera. Like, fuck, they told me that, okay? So on one hand, you have the intellectual understanding that was planted, but that has allowed you to realize what's happening and going and playing out in life as I lose the camera. If I lose the camera, I may not be as appreciative the next time because I didn't have that intellectual standing in the first place. You see how I'm talking about how they play in tandem with each other? They play in tandem with each other. Now this is just a basic thing that most of us understand. But if I start telling you about alpha and beta energy, how they work in tandem, the components of that, you will intellectually understand that, hopefully. Hopefully. That's all I can do with that video. I can't give you the actual experience of understanding alpha and beta energy, but I can give you the intellectual understanding. So I give you that understanding, and then you look at the world in a slightly different way, because that seed in your garden of understanding, that seed has been planted, and it's just a little bit different the way that you look at the world and you live your life, okay? And all of a sudden, you know, you have that intellectual understanding in the back of your mind. You have that video of me talking to you on the side of a cliff about alpha and beta energy, and then you start going through your life and maybe you notice it playing out a tiny bit, and you're like, that might have been, that's kind of like what Evan was talking about in that video. Yeah, that could be alpha and beta energy playing out perhaps within me, or playing out in that other person, or playing out between me and somebody else, or playing out in the way that I throw that stone. And the alpha energy is the stone, the water is alpha energy, but the waves and the ripples are beta energy. Like, huh. Yeah. That experiential understanding, okay, that experience is blossoming a little bit, okay? Though actually, the whole understanding is blossoming a little bit. That experiential understanding component of it, that experiential component is allowing that to happen. So, I give you alpha and beta energy, you intellectually resonate with it, and then you kind of see it play out in your everyday life. And then maybe you start meditating and it blossoms a little bit more. And then because you start meditating, you start resonating with different shit, your mind expands, you become more aware of what's going on around you, and then you can see it blossom more. And all of a sudden, I give you this seed, boom, it blossoms into this huge fucking beautiful flower. I suppose the experience is like water and sunlight, and that flower just blooms on its own. You give it what it needs to blossom, and it's this beautiful thing that you can use and carry around to better understand the world around you, and to better understand the world, more importantly, within you. So, understand, intellectual understanding is kind of like a seed. Experiential understanding is like the watering, the photosynthesis, and the blossoming of that flower. Actually, the understanding itself is the state of the flower, but that growth, the water and the sunlight, is the experiential understanding. So before I get into conscious and subconscious behavior, I want you to really, really understand this. So I'm going to use another example, another metaphor of intellectual and experiential understanding. Okay? In the video about alpha beta, I talk about a mollusk growing into a shell and the actual growth that takes place. In intellectual understanding, imagine that you're a mollusk, okay? And you're crawling around on the seafloor and you find a fucking shell. And that shell is bigger than you, so you crawl into it, you inhabit it, and then you eventually grow. That shell is like an intellectual understanding. You're not there yet, but you can see and you can intellectually understand what it's like and you can imagine pretty much what it might be like to be, fully engulfed and fully engulfing that shell, to fully inhabit that shell, for lack of a better term. So you can see the shell, but you're not actually there yet. That's the intellectual part. As a mollusk, you also need to grow. You also need to expand into that shell, okay? So the experiential component of any understanding is the growth and the blossoming that takes place. We're not talking about a flower anymore, we're talking about a mollusk. And so in the video about alpha beta, I talked about how a shell is like how I learned about the dynamic of alpha and beta energy, okay? I didn't know and I didn't have the experience of understanding it at first when I started learning, but I intellectually understood what people were telling me, what an alpha male looked like, what an alpha male acted like, okay? But I didn't understand alpha and beta energy as they were, an alpha male as it is. But I understood and I could imagine what it was like to act like each person. Then, as I went through the journey and the process, the seed was planted, I got my shell, and then I started to grow into it. So in that video about alpha and beta, I talk about how a lot of other people talk on YouTube or other articles, there's fucking books about this shit, about what it's like to act like an alpha male, okay? That's the shell. People give you the shell. They tell you what it looks like and what to act like. But on the other hand, what is it like to be an alpha male? So in that video about alpha and beta energy, I tell you how I went through the journey and how I'm still going through the journey. I also taught you how to do it for yourself, of actually growing into that shell, actually expanding outside of that seed that was just planted, okay? Neither one could coexist without the other. Alpha and beta energy can't coexist without the other. Intellectual and experiential understandings can't coexist without the other. Or they can't exist without the other. You get what I'm saying? Because they play into each other, okay? If you're this mollusk and you just start growing without a shell, well, then you're just gonna look like a fucking blob, okay? You're gonna grow into this kind of ugly piece of shit that can't, sustain himself. But if you have this big ass shell and you can't grow into it, well, then it's just this big ass shell that's hunkering you down, okay? Use them in tandem. They work collaboratively. Okay, you have this shell and then you grow into it. You don't want to be this blob laying on the seafloor, but you also don't want to be this fit, young, nimble little thing that has this big ass garbage around it. Okay, it's not working. They work together the same way that with a plant, you can't fucking grow from anything if you don't have a seed. Okay, that seed comes first, I suppose. You get the shell first and then you grow into it. You have that seed and then you expand from the seed. If you're just expanding, I suppose that doesn't even work with plants. I don't know much about it. I'm not a botanist. I used to smoke some weed, but I really don't know about this stuff that much. But understand, for simplicity's sake, that if you're a seed, you can't really grow out of not being a seed. I don't know how that happens, okay? So, hopefully at this point, you understand intellectually what an intellectual understanding and experiential understanding are, okay? We're going to go into something a little bit deeper that I've never heard anybody talk about. An intellectual understanding is a conscious understanding. An experiential understanding is an unconscious or subconscious understanding. Let me unpack both of those. Your conscious mind intellectually understands things. Your subconscious mind experientially understands certain things. Let me make another analogy. I know that gluten is not good for me. I know that I get a stomach ache when I have gluten. Okay? I intellectually understand that eating gluten will make my stomach hurt. But I don't actually know that. Hypothetically, this is just a situation. Okay? This is before I realized that I was gluten-free. Intellectually, my conscious brain is like, if I eat that fucking piece of bread, I am going to have an awful night. And everybody around me is going to have an awful night too, if you know what I mean. Then I eat the bread because my conscious mind is like, yeah, I shouldn't eat the bread. But the unconscious mind is like, yo, motherfucker, you need to eat. You need to keep me alive. That bread tastes really good and you're hungry. Eat the fucker. So then I pick up the bread, I put it in my mouth, I digest it, but then I don't actually digest it and it gets, you get what I'm saying. So I have this tummy ache and now I experientially understand that gluten and that bread made from wheat flour, not rice flour, the other things, but regular normal bread, that wheat and that gluten really upsets my stomach. Now, check this out. Here's the key fucking point. If I see that bread again, not only is my conscious brain going to be like, you shouldn't eat that bread, but my unconscious, my subconscious brain is also going to resonate with that. Because I had the experience of eating the bread, my subconscious brain experientially understands that that bread is going to make me feel like shit. Why? Because I felt like shit. Key word here, exposure. I was exposed to that understanding. I was exposed to that experience. Okay? My subconscious brain and my conscious brain are in line on the same understanding. Okay? A lot of times we go throughout life, how should I say this? A lot of times we go throughout life with mere conscious understandings of certain things that are playing out in life. But the subconscious understanding is what you really, really want to start honing in on and training, because as you learn things, you will deeply, deeply understand them if you can also get the subconscious experiential understanding component of the vast understanding itself. Okay, you want to be that flower that's blooming, that's blossoming, and also has thick, rich, and ripe roots. Okay, you want to be doing that. On my way here to Thailand, I knew and I expected that I was going to get the shits while coming here. Okay, I knew that was going to happen because I read it online. At the same time, I have an intellectual understanding that fasting is really good for me and it's great for the gut biome, but I also simultaneously experientially understand the benefits of fasting on my gut because I've gone through a fucking fast. Now, that experiential understanding, the fact that I've gone through the fast and I understand and I have felt what it's like to go through the fast and then eat again and realize the ridiculous amounts of energy, my better digestive system, I understand that. Because of that, I was able to conduct a fast while coming here, okay, while supplementing it with probiotics. But I didn't eat for like 40 hours. I'm not really sure how long it really was because there were so many time changes, and I had 2 layovers from Florida to fucking Thailand. I went through London and Oslo, so I was super discombobulated. I can't count fucking time when I jumped through like 3 or 4 fucking time zones. But anyway, I think it was like a 40-hour fast. And guess what? Would I do that 40-hour fast without the experiential understanding? I don't think so. If I've never done a fast of more than 40 hours before, if I'd never done a 105-hour fast, I don't think I would have been able to do a 40-hour fast when the time was appropriate. But because I had that understanding, because my subconscious mind also realized that it was really beneficial for me to undergo a fast, I was able to do it. Now, I don't want to overcomplicate things, and I don't want to make too many analogies. I'm kind of erring on the side of caution right now. But I want to give you some certain, how this has played out in my life so that you can think about how it's playing out in your life. Yes, at this point, think about yourself. If you understand and you read about all the benefits of fasting, if you watch my video about how to feel superhuman, and you learn about intermittent fasting, fasting, ketosis, ketogenic diets, okay? I made that with Sam. Go check that out. It's one of the 80-something vlogs that I made. If you intellectually understand that, that's great, but until you actually go through the process, you will have less command over it in your life. You'll be like, yeah, I should go on a fast. Yeah, I should start intermittent fasting, okay? And then you might push yourself, and you'll go through it a little bit, and you'll stretch the rubber band a little bit, You don't want that shit to break, but you stretch it a bit, and then you go back to your comfort zone. You expand, you contract back in. Okay, then you expand it a little bit more because you did an 18-hour fast. Okay, and your subconscious experientially understands how beneficial it is for you. Your conscious mind, yeah, dude, I just fucking fast all the time. I feel fucking amazing. But your subconscious is like, dude, I need to eat. Oh my God. And then all of a sudden your subconscious is like, okay, I don't really need to eat that much as I thought beforehand. You go on an 18-hour fast, then you expand it to 24, then 36, then 40, then 72, then 105 like I did, okay? And it's a lot easier and much more succinct. Everything aligns to greater extent once you have that experiential understanding, okay? But you would have not have conducted a fast if it wasn't for the fact that you had some sort of intellectual understanding and that I presented some sort of information to you in a video and then you go out and implement it, okay? So if I had never fasted before, then I probably would have never fasted while coming to Thailand, okay? And I wouldn't have gone through that process, okay? I wouldn't have been able to because I start sitting on the plane and it's like, I'm hungry. Well, I just fucking eat. Yeah, I know I shouldn't eat, but fuck, I'm hungry and I want some calories and I'm bored. So I'm gonna fucking eat. And then the subconscious mind is like, yeah, no, like, yeah, you might feel that a little bit, but you don't really need to actually fucking eat. It's gonna be way better, you're gonna feel way better because if you eat now, then you have a greater risk and a greater likelihood of shitting your brains out once you get to Thailand because your gut biomes are not fully adjusted and they're not as strong. You're weakening it. All right, well, I could go into it forever. That's a digression. But I just want to give you a couple simple analogies that hopefully aren't too complex for how this is playing out in my life, okay? Now, if you've seen a video about social momentum, hopefully you have. If you've seen that video that I made about social momentum, understand that social momentum is giving you, when you go through the act of saying hi to a couple people, getting a little bit of compliance, and eventually stretching out that rubber band and getting your momentum going, understand that that is the experiential understanding where you're penetrating the subconscious mind to allow you to understand that everybody is your fucking friend, that you can socialize in a benevolent manner. Okay? If I told you right now that you could go say hi to anybody here, even if they don't speak English, just by giving people high fives, by starting up conversation with random strangers, simple conversations, then building some momentum and going through it, yeah, that's great. Your intellectual mind is like, your conscious mind is like, all right, that's fucking great. But then you can penetrate it. And that's the only way that this shit actually works. The only way that this shit actually works is if you get the intellectual understanding and you couple it and you give yourself the gift of an experiential understanding through exposure, okay? If we walk into a club right now and I'm like, hey, go talk to that really hot girl, you're gonna freeze up. You're gonna fucking freeze up. You're gonna be like, what should I say? What should I move? How should I act? What do I do, man? Oh, and I get scared, and then you get approach anxiety, and you don't even say fucking hi. You didn't even get rejected. It was worse than that. It like didn't even happen. If you got rejected, that would have been a step up, okay? But the reason that that's happening is because your conscious mind is like, yeah, I should just go talk to this girl. It's totally fine. Your conscious mind is like, yeah, that's fucking great. But your subconscious mind is not there yet. Your subconscious mind is still like, oh fuck, what do I say, all this? And it's still in survival mode. There's a bit of fear there. Okay, how do you penetrate that? With the video on social momentum, I teach you how to go from step 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, give a person a high five, then tell a joke to somebody, give them a hug, move them a little bit, make them do a twist, okay? Tell a joke, tell a riskier joke, get a number close. And you eventually and gradually stack up and keep going farther than you normally would, okay? Guess what going through that experience is doing? It's penetrating, I didn't even give you time to answer, it's penetrating your subconscious mind, because your subconscious mind is experientially going through this shit, and it's like, holy fuck, if I give this person a high five, it's all fucking good. If I give this person a hug, it's all fucking good. And then it's like, wow, these people are telling me jokes. Wow, these people want to come up to me. Wow, we're all friends here. We're all alive. We're all living and thriving in the same environment. We're all fucking friends. It's just a matter of saying hi. And then I'm like, go talk to that really hot girl. And you're like, well, fuck. Hey, how you doing? My name's Evan. or Jeremy, or whatever your name is. That is the experiential penetration of the subconscious mind. Your full understandings will come from an intellectual and experiential component. Hopefully by this time, you understand the two components of the broader understanding itself, okay? Hopefully by this time you realize that if you absorb information, that's great, that's intellectually stimulating, but allow it and give yourself the exposure, go through the experiences of an experiential understanding. Give yourself the exposure to allow that experiential understanding to flourish and allow the understanding itself to manifest into a beautiful flower. Alright, check this out. Ready? You want your life purpose right here? Be the giant fucking mollusk. Be the massive fucking mollusk. Get your shell, expand into it. Then grab another shell, expand into it. Be a giant fucking mollusk. Be a beautiful garden. No, I'm not by a garden. There's no gardens over here. Be a massive fucking garden. A beautiful, diverse, variety-filled garden of understandings. And that is you. That is your life. You are just a giant fucking mollusk. You are just a garden. Dig it. To wrap things up, as I go through this experience of learning and getting certified as a Tantra yoga instructor, I'm going to be learning a lot of shit. And one of the reasons that I'm making this video, like I touched upon before, is that I'm going to be going through this myself. Now, this video is going to be great for you, and you're going to start seeing it play out in your everyday life. But also, I'm going to be the student, and I'm going to be the learner of the world around me during this month here. And I'm going to be going through this same shit that you are. So I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I am going to be taking videos throughout the process of me learning yoga. I don't know too much about it right now. That's one of the reasons that I'm here. I'm giving myself the exposure to expand my experiential understanding of yoga. And, you know, yoga extends into other things, so I suppose it's life itself. But I'm giving myself the exposure to allow my experiential understanding to flourish. Get what I'm saying? Yeah, on one hand, intellectual understanding, yeah, yoga is great. It makes flexibility awesome. Your energy is more aligned. You're more succinct in your life, okay? You have better alignment in the various aspects of your life, and you keep yourself at the center. Great for blood flow. Intellectually, consciously, that's very intellectually stimulating to me. But on one hand, I have that. The other component, give myself the exposure and allow myself to go through the experience, and then that whole understanding of yoga, Tantra yoga, that is the beautiful flower. And now you understand how that fucking flower comes into existence. You gotta intellectually understand it and experientially understand that motherfucker for it to blossom and bloom into something fucking amazing. And then, guess what you can do? You can give that flower to other people, raise the entire tide, make everybody giant mollusks, make it one huge fucking garden throughout the world, and just live in the life of paradise. We're going to do that step by step. We're going to do that through intellectual understandings. We're going to do that by thanking you dearly for listening to me during this time here. Thank you for coming along with me through my intellectual and experiential understandings. If you subscribe, then you'll be able to stick around and see how I'm doing it for myself. Fuck, we watch everything retroactively on YouTube, unless it's live. You'll get to see how I went through what I'm talking about right now, if that made any sense. Hopefully it did. Hopefully you're still watching. Hopefully you subscribe. Hopefully you fucking resonate with this. Thank you so much for this. Oh, one last thing that I wanted to mention. Tiny little tidbit, and then we're gonna go black. Because once you go black, you never... Alright, never mind. So, I made a video about 10 months ago after a 10-day meditation retreat. It's my first 10-day meditation retreat, and I talked about one of the things that I learned. I learned that there is an intellectual and experiential understanding to everything in life, okay? But I didn't understand at that point that they worked collaboratively. I thought that they were kind of like two separate things that were just disjointed. But over time, over these 10 months, and in the future it'll continue to happen, that understanding of the two components of intellectual and experiential, that has enhanced as well. And that has developed and evolved to what it is right now. And right now, I experientially know that it's not one or the other. They work in tandem. It's not me versus you, it's me and you. I love you, I thank you. I'm gonna wrap this fucker up. I'll see you in a little bit once I become a Tantra yoga instructor. If that happens, the way that it's going to happen is me understanding that there's two parts of understanding, intellectual and experiential. Do it for yourself, not for me. I love you. Take care. Namaste. Or fuck, I don't even know how they say goodbye here yet. Damn. I'm signing off. I'm going to go learn a little bit of Thai. Peace. I just had a 2-hour Thai massage, and not sleeping for 2 days is finally setting in.